friends, I Robinson. Welcome to our YouTube channel Star Science. If you've not been subscribed to our channel, do subscribe and encourage me. Heart anatomy. We are going to discuss today about the heart anatomy, and I want to explain by drawing the heart diagram. When I'm going for the diagram of the heart, I'll just explain you the structure and what are the function, what are the parts of the heart. When I'm drawing here, I'll start telling at the same time certain information regarding the heart anatomy and functions. Heart is a conical hollow muscular organ, and it is situated in the middle mediastinum, the space between the lungs, and it rests on the diaphragm near the midline of the thoracic cavity. It is enclosed within the pericardium. It pumps blood to various parts of our body to meet their nutrients and the requirements. Heart is placed obliquely behind the body of the sternum. And the main important point is that the atrium are separated from the ventricles by atrioventricular groove, and the intraatrial groove separates the two atrium, and intraventricular groove separates the two ventricular of the heart. So it is very important to remember. Next, the length of the heart is around 12 centimeter, and the width of the heart is around 9 centimeter at the broadest point. The thick of the heart is around 6 centimeter, and the weight in adult female it's around 250 grams, and in adult male it's around 300 grams. Then what will be the size of the heart? The size of the heart is slightly larger than our clenched fist. Next, the relation of heart or the location of the heart. Firstly, anteriorly, sternum, ribs, and intercostal muscles. And if you see posteriorly to the heart, esophagus, trachea. And if you see laterally, lungs either side. And if you see superiorly, great blood vessels like aorta, vena cava, pulmonary arteries, and veins. If you see inferiorly, apex of the heart rests on the central tendon of the diaphragm, and this particular region it is called as base, and this particular region here it is called as apex. And if you see the borders of the heart, firstly, upper border, it is slightly oblique and it is formed by the two atrium, and the right border it is more or less vertical and it is formed in by the right atrium, and it extends from superior vena cava to the inferior vena cava. The right border is from superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Then the inferior border it is nearly horizontal and is formed mainly by the right ventricle. Small part of it near the apex is formed by the left ventricles. It extends from inferior vena cava to the apex. So from this particular region to apex means the inferior vena cava. From inferior vena cava to apex, it is called inferior border of the heart. Next, the left border, and these are the borders of heart. Next, if you see the layers, I will teach you later. Firstly, there are three layers in our heart. Firstly, the outer layer, it is called as pericardium, and it is divided by the two layers. We will see later in our lecture. Middle layer, it is called as myocardium, and the main functions of myocardium is pumping action of heart. And next one, the inner layer, endocardium, is formed by single layer of endothelial cells. Chambers of heart. There are four chambers in our heart. Firstly, right atrium and right ventricles, left atrium, left ventricles. In right atriums, the main function is that it will receive all the venous blood from whole body. Means the deoxygenated blood it receives from superior vena cava and inferior vena cava and coronary sinus. Right ventricles, where it receives blood from right atrium, and when it receives blood from right atrium, the opening of the tricuspid valve, and when it receives blood into right ventricles, from there it move on to the pulmonary trunk and through pulmonary artery to the lungs to exchange of gases. So when it moves up, the opening of the pulmonary valve will be occurring. Nextly, left atrium, where it receives blood from the pulmonary veins which is coming from the lungs, and it receives blood, O2 blood, oxygenated blood, and next the left ventricles, where followed by the left atrium, the blood will flow to the left ventricle by opening of mitral or bicuspid valve. From there, aortic valve will be opened. From there, it will be circulated all over the body. Of heart, atrioventricular valves, left is known as bicuspid valve, atrioventricular valve, right is known as tricuspid valve, which is used for prevent backflow of blood into atria. And secondly, semilunar valve present at the opening of pulmonary artery is known as pulmonary valve. Semilunar valve present at the opening of the aorta is known as aortic valve to prevent backflow of the blood into the ventricles. Layers of heart. The outer layer of heart is called as pericardium, and this pericardium is outer covering of heart, and it is made up of two layers, and the outer layer, which is called as, right now I am showing you on the screen, this particular region, the outer covering of this pericardium is known as parietal pericardium, and this is the outer covering of pericardium. So the next layer in pericardium, the inner layer, is called as visceral pericardium. So it's very easy to remember. The parietal pericardium is outside of the heart, and visceral pericardium is attached with the middle myocardium. So right now we are seeing in between of these two layers there is a gap in white. It is called as pericardial cavity. So this is the outer layer of heart. In between of this two layer, it is called as pericardial cavity or pericardial space. So the parietal pericardium and visceral pericardium, so in between it is called as pericardial cavity, or we can call it as pericardial space. So these are the outer layer of heart. So the two layers we'll discuss in later of this lecture when we'll go into internal structure of our heart. So our pericardial cavity is separates in pericardium, parietal pericardium layer and visceral pericardium layer. Next, we are seeing about the aorta. So this is arch of aorta, where it brings O2 blood from left ventricle. So from here it will send to upper and lower part of our body O2 blood. So it's very responsible to take all the purified blood to all the parts of our body, and it is also useful to take all the nutrients to all over the parts of our body. So it's very important. So now we are seeing about the descending aorta, where it takes blood to lower part of our body. Now we are seeing the name of the arch of aorta, which gives three branches. So these three branches, as we see in right side, this branch it is called as brachiocephalic artery, and this brachiocephalic artery later we will see in next video regarding blood supply to all the parts of our body. So I will teach you there. Now we will see about this particular region in arch of aorta. This is called as left common carotid artery. So this is the blood which takes blood to head through the left side of our head, and next one it is called as left subclavian artery. Means the blood is supplied to the left upper limb through left subclavian artery. So these are the blood which is taken to the upper portion of our body through arch of aorta. Next we are seeing this is called as most probably left pulmonary artery. So the left pulmonary artery will be connected to the left lung, where it takes CO2 blood to the left lung. Now we are seeing about the right pulmonary artery, which is taking CO2 blood to the right lung, where it will occurs exchange of gases. Now we are seeing where I am drawing right now arrow mark. This particular region it is called as left pulmonary vein, which comes from lungs and joins to the left atrium, and we are seeing on right back posteriorly it is called as right pulmonary vein, which is comes from the right lung and joins to the left atrium. So don't be confused, because it is in presentation when you see in pics it is in right, it is not in contact or connected to the right atrium, but it is connected to the left atrium, and where the O2 will be entering to our left atrium. So now I am showing you this is superior vena cava, which brings all the deoxygenated blood from upper part of our body to the right atrium. So by this you can remember O2 blood will be always in left chambers and CO2 blood will be always in right chambers. So now we are seeing about the inferior vena cava, which is bringing deoxygenated blood from the lower part of our body. So nextly you have to see about the coronary sinus itself will give deoxygenated blood from heart to the right atrium. So next we have to remember about the valves of the right chambers, that is two chambers. One is atrioventricular semilunar valve. The semilunar valve, which is opening of our pulmonary trunk or artery, it is called as pulmonary valve, and atrioventricular valve in right it is called as tricuspid valve, as we written earlier. So these two are useful for to take all the blood, deoxygenated blood, to the lungs. And now I am showing you, this is called as bicuspid valve or mitral valve, which is called as atrioventricular valve. So this is bicuspid valve, and or we can call it as mitral valve. So next we have to see about the semilunar valve. The semilunar valve is the opening of the aorta in ventricles. It is called as aortic valve. So the aortic valve is used to prevent backflow of the blood into the ventricles, as we seen earlier of our study. Next we are seeing about the, most probably in green color, right now I am showing you through my pen on the screen, this particular regions which is called as chordae tendineae. This strings which is used for opening, closing of mitral or bicuspid and tricuspid valves. So the blood, to prevent backflow to atrioventricular, this is very much important to open and close. Now I am showing you in black color, which is the chordae tendineae is attached to the valves of atrioventricular valve, and down it is attached to the papillary muscles, which is attached to the inner layer of our heart. Now I am showing you the next two layers of heart. First I have shown you outer layer, which is pericardium, and now I am showing the middle layer. It is called as middle myocardium. So this layer is called as myocardium, is responsible for pumping action of heart. So most probably you have to remember this particular layer, it is doing the virginal work of the heart. So it is very important to know that myocardium has huge role in pumping action of our heart. Now I am showing you this particular layer, the last layer, which is called as inner layer, endocardium. So this endocardium is formed by single layer of endothelial cells. So where you have to remember, these are the layers of our heart. Next we are saying about the right and left chambers division by, I am showing right now this particular region, it is called as interventricular septum. So this interventricular septum is used to divide the right and left ventricles. It is useful for separation of CO2 and O2 blood. Now I am showing you this particular region, which is used for separation of right and left atrium, and it is called as intraatrial septum. Intraatrial septum, which is also used for the separation of our chambers, upper chambers, which will not have mixture of our bloods. Now I am showing you which is called as pulmonary trunk. This pulmonary trunk, which is taking CO2 blood from right ventricle, as I am showing you right now, this is called as the chambers. The upper chamber, right, it is called as right atrium, and down chamber in right side, it is called as right ventricles. And next we will see about the next chamber, that is called as the left atrium. So where I am going with red color, it is simply says that purified blood will be there in these particular regions. And next, left ventricles, which is useful for having a O2 blood. From here it enters into the aortic valve. So now I have given 4 dots on left atrium. It is nothing but pulmonary veins. So now I am showing you that the opening of our inferior vena cava, right atrium. So this is how the parts of our heart. So you have to remember all those parts. So next video we are doing about the conduction system of our heart, and followed by pulmonary and systemic circulation and cardiac cycle and blood supply to heart and blood supply to other parts of our body. So I'll go through each video. I'll try to give you a clear indications of this subject. Thank you friends. I hope you are very much happy with this video, and if you're happy, do subscribe and share our channel Star Science. Thank you friends. Signing off, it's Robinson, Star Science. I hope you can share through your comments on our comment section. Thank you friends. Bye bye.